All right, so we are recording. So welcome to, this isn't an official show, but this is just another Supreme Numerics offering brought to you by Mr. Westbrook's class on YouTube. And this video is almost, I won't say it's an impromptu. We did a little bit of planning, but we just decided, hey, we were talking about this topic offline. So let's go ahead and just jump on and share this conversation with the public. You know, some of my colleagues have done similar case studies. Shout out to BTV Numerologics. She does these case studies with well-known figures, celebrities, people in history, and the person you see on the screen here, my new friend, also a family member of the Live with Lloyd family, and also a subscriber of mine over here on Supreme Numerics. I would like to introduce everyone to CC. So CC, say hi to the people out there.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everybody.
Yes,
Thank
yes. So
you.
CC, she reached out to me with some questions about numerology, and she brought to me a case study about Paul Robeson, and she asked me to check her calculations based on Paul's birthday and his name. And let me tell you, CC did a phenomenal job, had all the calculations correct, and even some
Thank you.
insightful. You're welcome. You're welcome. Even some insightful analysis about Paul Robeson's life and his character traits. So I said, hey, why don't we do a video and share this with the public? I think it'll bring a lot of value, and people who are students of history and especially Black history, I think they will really appreciate this. So Cece, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll get into these numbers about Paul Robeson. So you go ahead and introduce yourself, whatever you want to share with the people, and then we'll get into what we found.
Okay. Well, I'll just keep it short and simple. I'm just a native Atlantan, Grady baby, born and raised. I know I may not sound it, but I am, trust. Um, I've lived here all my life and I got into numerology. I've had visions throughout my life and dispelled them when I was younger. But the older I got, the more they became prominent in my life. And I'm like, well, maybe I need to pay attention to this because I keep getting all these different little things. Ran across Lloyd's Live, got captivated, bought the books, met other people on there, Jazz Aphrodite, and then I met you, and I'm in. I'm in the community.
Yes, yes, she is a part of the family. The family. So we have numerology in
Yes,
common, but we're also both educators too. So we have that in common as well. And
as well. Yes,
yeah,
I'm an
yes,
educator.
yes, and
Exactly.
we both have students that are graduating high school this season
Yes.
also.
So,
Yeah, learn that.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
I work
yes.
with a student that is legally blind, and I've been with her for the past 4 years. Started with her ninth grade, and now it's just amazing to see the transition from being a child to a young adult. And I'm just proud of her. She's a twin. Her and her sister, they're going to school in state. One's going to Georgia State, my student, and her sister is attending University of Georgia. Okay.
That's beautiful. Wow. Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
I'm
beautiful.
excited about that. And it's just great to see them come up and go through the pains of being an adult and
Mhm.
finding your way. And here they are, and we present them to the world.
It's exciting. I'm going through similar journey with my seniors. Been with most of them all 4 years of high school. And
Okay. Wow.
there's a lot of synchronicity going on, as we're doing this recording. At the time of this recording, I'm not sure when I'll put this up, hopefully sooner than later. But
Okay.
at the time of this recording, we not only do we have these commonalities, but it's also a decision day week, or decision day.
Right.
Well, at our school, we
Right.
were doing decision
Right.
day month, so we're celebrating the entire month. But National Decision Day
Right.
just
Right.
passed as well.
College and career path. Yeah, college and
Mhm.
career path.
Yep,
They've already
yep,
made their decisions. They put out their applications. They start really, early up in the year, almost towards the end of
yeah,
winter
yeah. We
break
start later.
last year. Right. And now they've got their cap and their gown, and they've been celebrating them, and it's Teachers Week this
Yes, I
week.
was about to mention that also.
So
That's the other.
happy Teachers Day.
Yeah, yeah, that Happy Teachers
Happy
Appreciation Day and
Teachers
week to
Day.
us.
Of Teachers Appreciation. Right. And they
Yes.
gave us a card. There's a place called I can't even think of it right now, but they sell burgers and fries, and they gave us a card with a QR code on it, and you can get you a milkshake. I'm like, all right, way to go.
Yep, yep. We had a self care day at my we had a self care day at our school. So we had a
Oh, okay.
health or medical group come in to do health screenings and massages, and they
Nice.
gave us lunch. So that was
Nice.
a nice experience. And then
Nice.
after that, I went to a teacher symposium for uh, recent, well, they aren't graduates yet, but students that are about to graduate and enter into the teaching field. This past school
Okay.
year, I served as a participating uh, teacher, not participating, I think it's called cooperating teacher. I had a student teacher. I had a
Like a
yeah, student
mentor?
teacher. I
Is it
was
like
doing
a
the
mentor?
mentoring. Yeah, so I had a
Okay.
college student who's a junior, and next year she'll be a senior, going into her last year, entering into the teaching profession. So I was invited to see this year's cohort. My mentee, she will be in next year's cohort, but I got invited to a symposium to learn about this year's cohort and their experience student teaching this year. And so that was,
Awesome.
it's a nice way to end off Teacher Appreciation Day, to
Exactly.
recognize the up and coming young people who are entering the profession.
Exactly.
So it was it,
You know
it's
what?
been
Being an educator is tough. Um, it's almost neck and neck to being a parent. I'm a parent. My kids are grown now, but it's tough because you're in a position to shape minds, literally.
yes.
And the current situation that our department is going through now is challenging, but we do have I know I have phenomenal coworkers that truly make the difference. Working at a STEM school is a whole nother level. Trust and believe. If there are anyone out there that have kids that are in STEM schools, appreciate that teacher because we're dealing with a lot. And I'm not saying it on a negative vibe, but first and foremost, your child is already bright. But there are other things that have to be in consideration as well to keep them on that track. So kudos to you, sir. Happy
Yes, yes.
Teachers Appreciation Day.
Yes, and that's another commonality I forgot to mention. We're both at STEM schools. uh,
Exactly.
I don't teach a STEM subject. I'm a simple English teacher, so I don't know anything about computer programming and data science and
Hmm.
data analytics and cybersecurity and cloud computing and all those things. I don't know anything about that.
Hmm.
I teach reading, writing, speaking, and listening.
But you know what? Don't say it, don't discount it as that, because engineers need to learn how to read,
Mm-hmm.
right?
You do.
Okay. They in technology, they have to come up with a different type of graphics that they display in their phones and the tablets that the kids know about now. So don't sell yourself
Mm-hmm.
short. Reading, I hate to go back to the old school, but reading is fundamental. It
No,
really
no, that's
is.
right. No, that's right.
You
No,
know,
the only thing I'm saying is if the students are struggling or have questions about those subjects, don't come to me. I will not be able to help you. I will not be able to help you with coding your website or with your
oh my
with your
God.
calculus, your pre-calculus classes. I cannot help you. So don't ask me.
Yeah, that pre-calculus, I was in the class with my student and I was like, what are y'all talking about? Let me get out of here. My head is
Right.
spinning, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's all I'm saying. That's
Amazing.
all I'm saying. But let's go
Awesome.
ahead. We could talk about education for forever, for days. So
Another
let's go ahead and
time.
get to what this video is actually about. Let's talk about Paul Robeson. So
Okay.
before we get into the numbers and some of the information about Paul's life, why why did you
Okay.
why did you choose to focus on Paul Robeson? What is your, I guess, what was your fascination or interest in him first before we talk about his life and his numbers?
Well, being a student of Lloyd Strayhorn, um,
Mhm.
it was April, and somebody said when I was going through online at work, just randomly, it's Aries season. I was like, okay. And Paul Robeson is an Aries. So I was like, okay, well, let me just pull up his stuff. And I was attracted to the number, his birth date. And I pulled up Wikipedia and I was like, shut the front door. Wow. And he's a dude, he's an individual that you really don't hear that much about. You know, you hear about other people, but he's done so much and it's not enough emphasis. They don't talk about him in school. Like when we were coming up, you know, the standard, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King,
Right.
W.E.B. Du Bois. But there were other people that were also involved in civil rights. So that's what intrigued me about him. And once I put the numbers in, it just boom, it just hit me. It was literally like he just came down and said, this is what I am. This is my truth. That's the way I interpret it. When I do someone's numbers, it's like that person's energy just comes with me. They sit down and they'll tell me this is what this is. I did the
Yep.
same thing with someone else and it just blew my mind. So
Yeah,
he's a
yeah.
very fascinating, he's an interesting person. And what I find through the numbers is that um, once I go through it, it makes the person more human, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. Because when you're looking at them, you know, here's, you know, such and such, and you see all these pristine, historic, you know, um, busts and murals and pictures, and they look so stoic and stuff. But when they come to me as, you know, I was a human being. I had feelings, I had emotions. I was displeased about this, and this is the reason why I was displeased. Well, when I was going through this particular phase, it hurt me in this particular fashion. So that's what drew me to him basically.
Yep, yep. And that's what the numbers are here to do. The numbers are here to reveal, who we are or who people are, what they're here to learn, their purpose in life, their personality traits, their talents, their abilities, their strengths, their weaknesses. That's exactly what the numbers are here to do and to show us. So, yeah, you're right. Your analysis or your reasoning for being interested in Paul Robeson is right in alignment with the purpose of the numbers in numerology. So let's talk about some of these aspects of his life and the numbers that struck you and stood out to you. What was the first thing that struck you like whoa when you saw his numbers and you lined up his numbers with what you know about him in his life?
Okay, grab my notes. Okay,
Mine too.
Mr. Paul. I gotta put a handle on his name. Mr. Paul. Okay.
Mr.
First of all, he was born in 1898. That was intriguing to me, first of all. So, and secondly, what drew me into him, like I said, it was Aries season. So, and my rising sign is Aries. So I guess
Okay.
that's a connection. But
Yeah.
his birth date is number 9.
Mm-hmm.
And number 9 has the energy of it's in a fire number. And he, oh my God, it's just so much. He has that energy. He exudes that energy as a fire number, humanitarian, um, about the community. He was a civil rights activist. Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he just he played football at Rutgers. He was the third person to be accepted at Rutgers. um a scholar, exceedingly intelligent. Did you know that he got his degree I think from Columbia in
Yes.
law?
Yes, I did.
And
Yeah.
okay, that blew my mind because it's like, what? But it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Because the activism. And he was activist all the way through to the day
Mm-hmm.
he died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that number 9 energy, that's a strong energy.
Mm-hmm.
And, by him being a man, he was what, over 6 feet? I think he was like 6'3". So he's a big dude, big guy. And the number 9 energy is the doer. And Mr. Roberson did. As the kids say, he did that.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. That's right. And
Mhm.
he also had global appeal too. We know that number 9 is a global and international number. So not only was he a humanitarian within America, but he was a humanitarian abroad as well. And I think you found some information about his global appeal and his work as a global figure too, right?
Exactly. He apparently in Russia, there's a group over there that was being persecuted and discriminated against. And during his he was in the play, I want to say Othello, but I'm not really sure about Othello. I don't think it was Othello.
He was
But
in Othello. That might not be the same play, but he
I
did play
think it was
Othello.
Showboat. Yeah, I
Okay.
think it was Showboat. He was touring over there, and he just seen all the atrocities while he was visiting Europe, and he saw that, they're doing the same thing over here with another group of people that they do to us in the United States. So he decided to be an activist for them and Trump for their civil rights over there, which
Yep.
brings in the number 4, and the number 4 energy, which is his birth month, which is April
Mm-hmm.
4, which
Yep.
brings
Fourth
up
month.
the misunderstanding, the case of being misunderstood, because it's like, I'm pretty sure um, people over here were like, well, why you go way over there to Russia and help them? And there's stuff going on over here. And he was like,
Mm,
but it's a global thing. So he had some forward thinking as the doer with the number 9 energy to just say,
mhm,
hey, I'm going to go over here. You know, these guys over here in the United States, they're not treating me right anyway. And when we get into his pinnacles and his challenges, we'll discuss that. But that's why he went over there and he started expansion, which is the number 3, expansion, creative
mhm.
opportunity or whatever. But he went over there and he started speaking civil rights for that group over there.
Yep, yep, yes. So there's the number 9 again, and then I checked
Hmm.
his height again. He was 6'3". 6 plus 3 is
Yeah, he's a
9.
big guy.
He got the 9 again.
It's
And
okay. Hey, there you
yep, yep.
go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
And then and
he
then
was
the
a
go.
big guy. So
Yes, yep, yep. Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yep.
sorry
He
I
was.
missed you.
I
What
mean,
did you
he was.
say?
Oh no, I was just saying. Yes, he was built like an athlete. He's very skilled in athletics, so he had to build for it. A
Yeah,
Renaissance man, to say the least.
essentially.
Scholar, activist, athlete. Yep, yep. And he has those,
So,
actor too. So we see those creative
mm-hmm,
numbers come up with the 9 also. The
mm-hmm.
9 is also an artistic number as well as the 3. And when we talk more about the 3, we'll see he has several 3s showing up. Actually, 3 is one of his key numbers. To backtrack a little
Okay.
bit about him being an Aries, Aries is a fire sign as well. So fire sign with a fire number, and his key numbers are the 9, 3, and the 6. So he has those artistic. He has all 3 artistic numbers,
Wow.
as his key number.
Amazing.
But let's.
Mm-hmm.
You started talking about the 4, so we could talk about the 4, and then we'll talk about the 3 some more.
Oh, I
So the
forgot. And
4,
he's from New Jersey. He's from Jersey too. Princeton, New
yeah,
Jersey was where he was
Jersey.
born.
Yeah,
Your homeboy.
my state. Yep, yep. So uh,
Yes.
let's talk about since you brought up the 4, and with the 4 with the communication, him
Okay.
being misunderstood, but him also being a visionary. We saw the
Yes.
4 show up in his birth month, and we know the birth month represents his formative cycles, but we also see the 4 show up in his name, right? So we saw the 4 show up in his expression number in the Chaldean system of numerology.
Mm-hmm.
In both, when we
Mm-hmm.
so in the Chaldean system, we just look at the name that he most commonly goes by, which was Paul Robeson. Normally Chaldean system doesn't take into account the middle name unless he uses the middle name. But even when you add up the first and the last name, and you add up the first, middle, and the last name in the Chaldean system, they both add up to 4. So when you add up the
Exactly.
first,
So
middle,
he
and the
was
last
meant
name,
to be that.
yeah, first, middle, and the last name, it's a master number 22, 4. And then with just the first and the last name in the Chaldean system, it's a 13, 4.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And
so you
so,
have the fours there as well. And in his last name in the, which one is that? The Chaldean system adds up to a 4. Roberson.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you got the 4. You
I
had the
see
4
it.
there as well.
So to emphasize on that even further, he was highly misunderstood. I can even envision him because he's 6'3". The misunderstanding about him could be taken as threatening, you know, because my ex, my daughter's father, he was 6'3", and people would just move out of the way and whatnot. And I'm like, why he says I kind of have to kind of move at a certain way as to not be interpreted as threatening because I'm so tall. And I was like, wow, how inconvenient that could be to just go through that all of your life. You just couldn't regularly just stretch out and just, you know, do whatever, be limble or whatever. You have to restrict and confine. But because Robeson had that 9 as his birthday, that fire number, the doer, he was like, bump all that. I'm going to do it. You're going to see me. You're going to hear me. And you're
Mhm.
going to understand me. Okay? Because
Yep.
I'm Paul Robeson. And who going to challenge me? Well, sir, you 6'3". Nobody going to challenge you.
Yep. And that's that 9 energy, and that's that Aries energy too.
That's the Aries energy too, because the Aries, they go
Mhm.
straight for it.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
They
They
go
they
straight
think.
for it.
Yep. They think really highly of themselves. They have that passion
Mm-hmm.
and that fire. They're gonna make themselves seen and heard. They're gonna make sure you see and hear them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
Yep.
also with the number 4, they have a distinct voice, and that echoes to his singing voice. He had a
Hmm.
very deep bass, baritone singing voice, and he made recordings. He performed in plays like Showboat, Othello, and other little stuff where he was singing. Old Man River comes to mind. And if you've heard that, you can dig it up here on YouTube and find it. He has a very distinctive voice
Hmm. Yep. Yep. And
with the
that
number
makes
4.
an
I'm
excellent.
sorry.
Right, yeah, and that makes an excellent segue into the number three. But one more thing about the number four,
Mhm.
um, another place where we see the number four come up in his numeral scope, we see that his first pinnacle lesson was a number four, and the first pinnacle lesson is calculated with the birth month plus the birthday, and then you also I think you called it the attitude number, right? So that also represents his attitude number,
Yes.
or his alignment number.
Hmm.
There's different names for the sum of the birth month and the birthday. So there's a four also, and he also went through a four challenge in his last pinnacle, his fourth pinnacle. He was going through a number four challenge as well. So we see the number four come up in those places as well in his birthday. And so you brought up the voice connected to the
Yeah.
distinct voice.
So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Go ahead. Mhm.
no, no, no. Yeah, I was just gonna expound on that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go
from the
ahead. Yeah.
pinnacles and his challenges, from his the ages, so from birth up into 33, his pinnacles. 4 is also an
Yes, he
intelligence
is.
number as well. So he's very smart. So that's the reason why he was number 3 individual to get into Rutgers College. And he was there from 1915 into 1919. The third African American student ever enrolled. Okay. And at that time, 1915, 1919, come on now. You know what
Right.
they were doing just 20 years prior to that. And you know what was
Right.
going on during that time. That was Jim Crow. But that was a big guy. So anyway. And so he's in college at that time. And from it skips on down to 1928 to 1932. That's when he starts doing expelling his distinctive voice in the play Showboat, which was the longest running play at that time. I think it had like close to 300 shows. So it was a very popular show. And that's the play where they had him singing Old Man River. And Othello. Anybody, have you ever seen Othello? Do you know
I
anything about Othello?
I read the book in high school. I haven't seen any productions
Okay.
of it, but I'm familiar with the
Okay.
story.
Okay. Yeah. So, and his challenges is a 5 during that period of time. So can
Mhm.
you explain the 5?
Okay, so for a five challenge, he was probably being challenged to be probably to be disciplined, since the negative side or the challenging of the five can be an abuser of freedom or abuser of vices. He was also probably being challenged to be an effective communicator, since the number five is a communication number. He was also probably being challenged to find balance between all of the activities he was doing, between studying, going to college, studying, being an activist, being an artist, writing. It sounded like he was a very busy man at that time. So he's being challenged to find a balance between all of the activity that he's doing and finding time to rest, since the health issues that come with the number five are associated with restlessness, nervousness issues, insomnia due to overwork and overdoing things. So he was probably going through those type of challenges and learning to mitigate those obstacles and those challenges. But on the positive side, challenging himself to express himself through written communication. He was he did some writing as well, challenging himself to put himself out into the public and deal with the public and put his work out into the public in some way, to reach out to people who are uh, on another level that are able to help him reach his goals. Those are a few of the things that I think of when I think of a five challenge pinnacle cycle.
And you're absolutely right. He did partake of drink and other curricular activities at that time as well. Five is a communication number as well. So he was out and about playing on the football league, getting involved in social clubs. He even was a member of Skulls, the secret society Skulls,
Oh,
as
skull and
well
bones.
as right. He was, and he was
Hmm.
also in the Alpha Kappa Alpha, if I'm not mistaken, as well too, as well as the NAACP and all those different kind of things. He met his wife. Now his wife, she ain't nothing to play with. This lady is
Oh,
absolutely smart. So,
okay.
but he's being a young man, and young man gonna be a young man. And she said, "Look, it's either me or the back of my head. Which one do you want?" So he said,
Ooh,
"Okay, baby, it's you." So they got married. All right.
okay.
But Paul was still, no man gonna do what a man gonna do. He was still out there living that five dream, which was a challenge for him. And he did not resist it. He got caught up, and she knew about it. Okay. And just a little insight on her. I did her right quick. She was I think a Sagittarius, December 15th, 1895.
Yeah, that would be Sagittarius. Sagittarius.
Okay.
Sagittarius number
So
six.
yeah, she's a fire number, Sag, with a earth. No, she's a fire sign with a earth number. There you go. So at that six number, she's nurturing, So she was like, well, okay, he'd probably go out and be with Missy Pooh and Miss Ann and Miss whoever. And she found out about it, and he come in with some flowers and cards and candy. You know how y'all guys do, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And then she probably say, I need a diamond tennis ring. Where my diamond tennis ring? So, and he was making the money so he could do it. You know what I'm saying? So he did submit to his vices of extracurricular and whatnot, but still a
Five.
phenomenal person.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, yes. Yeah, that five challenge, as you mentioned, and that's interesting. I can see why those two were attracted to each other. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
along with them both being, highly intelligent and
Mm-hmm.
scholarly, they also have numbers in common. His numbers
Exactly.
are, yeah, his numbers are the 9, 3, and the 6, and hers would
Mm-hmm.
be the the 6, 3, and the 9.
Exactly. Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Yep.
so they have those key numbers in common. That's very interesting.
Right.
So,
I'm trying to see. Keep talking because I'm trying to see. No,
okay, yeah, yeah.
he was in Phi Beta Kappa, not Alpha
Oh,
Kappa
Phi Beta
Alpha.
Kappa. Okay,
He
yeah,
was in
Phi Beta
Phi
Kappa.
Beta
That's the
Kappa. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um
That's an elite. That's an elite. Yeah, that one's an elite.
he was in some groups. He was in
Yeah,
some
yeah. I
groups.
see. I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He certainly was.
And his wife, she became his agent. She quit her job, but she became his agent over time, and she pretty much brokered deals, plays, and all kind of assignments for him. So that was probably one of the reasons why, because they were in the well-to-do, who to do crowd, because he was a thespian. So working in those circles, she got connections and she made things happen for him in order for him to be able to attain and stay in the status that they were in. And so,
Hmm.
let's see. I was
Yeah.
trying
Well,
to find what she was into. Hold, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you want to tackle
oh yeah.
his age 34 to 42 Pinnacles and Chronicles challenges? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, not Chronicles.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So I have his second pinnacle lesson as a number 8 lesson, and the second challenge as a number 1 lesson, and that number 8, you do kind of alluded to a little bit of karma, but that number 8 is a karmic number, cause and effect. What you put out, you get back. Number 8 is also, you're also learning to be an authority, to be powerful and to be an authority in whatever you do. It's also a money number, so you're learning to build your financial IQ, learn the difference between assets and liabilities, learn to manage your money wisely during the number 8 lesson for that second pinnacle cycle. And for the challenge, that number 1 challenge, he's learning to be independent, or he's being challenged to be independent, to be a leader, uh, to to be straightforward in how he communicates with everyone, to mean what he say and say what he means, as King Simon would say. He's being, he's being challenged to be a leader, but not be bossy or domineering. So that's what he had in terms of his second pinnacle lesson and challenge. Yeah, we just got done. Well, I just got done talking about the second pinnacle lesson in the second challenge. So the second lesson was a number 8, and the second challenge was a number 1. And I just talked about what he was learning during those years, and what what he was being challenged to do or learn during that time.
Okay, yeah. So I agree with you wholeheartedly about the number 8. It's also just like the 4 in regards to being misunderstood. So he's just
Yeah.
misunderstood person anyway. However, um A lot of When I think of number 8, I think of executive power moves.
That's
Okay.
right.
So a lot of power moves were made in his benefit, and that was through his wife. She became his agent. The lady was very brilliant. I finally remember what she did, because at one while, after law school, after he completed his law degree, he couldn't find work. Nobody
Mm,
would hire Mr. Robeson. I wonder why. But they wouldn't hire him. So his wife, they had to depend on her salary. And she was a histologist. The
okay.
study of histology is the study of microscopic anatomy of cells and
Mm,
tissues. So she was very intelligent. She was nothing to laugh at. But I wonder
mm,
why she dealt with him seeing other women. That's a whole nother conversation within itself. She
right.
knew that he was doing whatever, and it's like, girl, you know, why you still with him, girl? Leave him alone, girl. But she stuck beside him. So, but anyway, number 8.
Hmm.
Um, I think of executive moves. So once she became his agent, she's pretty much set him up with the renowned film The Emperor Jones. Are you familiar with that film?
No, I'm not. It sounds familiar, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, it was a play. This happened in 1933. Robeson played the role of Jim in the London production of Chillin, and he also did the role of Brutus in the film The Emperor Jones, the first film to feature an African American in the starring role. Okay.
Okay.
So he while on the set, now imagine this 6'3", I think he was a linebacker or a tight end when he played football at Rutgers.
I could do a quick search of that while you're talking.
Okay. So he's on the film set, right? And he didn't tolerate any indignity despite the Jim Crow era. This is in the 30s. So Jim Crow was really popping at that time. But he didn't care who it was. You're not going to disrespect him. You're not going to disrespect the crew, the colored crew. I'm sorry to use that word, but that's the word that they
Mhm.
used back then in reference to us. He didn't tolerate none of that. So, of course, the press, they killed him. They gave him negative reviews and said that he made a behind of himself because he was using the vernacular at that time, like the minstrel shows, I is, we was, chilling, and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Other audiences were fascinated in that type of theatrics, but when it came to the black press and so on, no, we want to project a different image, Mr. Robeson. We understand you 6'3" and you don't tolerate nobody messing with you, but what about the image that you're putting out? And number 8 shows me where those that have that 8, that power executive role, they can gain money just as well as lose that money at the same rate.
Yep, that's
Easy in,
right.
easy out. Easy in, easy out. So he got these roles and he got himself in the position to be where he could be seen and our story can be come across. But yeah, you're doing a great job, but oh my God, do you have to use such language? Do you have to say it like that?
Hmm.
Could you just, you know what I'm saying? And at
Yeah.
that time, the media and the press, they'll obliterate you in a heartbeat. So, and then the number one challenge, he was out there. So he took the hits and he took him high and low. You know, he was literally the face for that type, if that makes sense. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Oh, you want to be out there in Emperor Jones and you want to do this and you want to make it seem like that all African Americans talk that way. We don't talk that way. And especially, I think some of the upper class blacks at that particular time were like, no, we don't want to be a part of that. Excuse me. So we don't, that's not the image that we want to portray. You need to find something else. So that's the number one. Excuse me.
Sure,
Folks
sure,
will
no
get
problem.
and crank their truck up. Sorry. But
No problem.
that's what I get from from that number one energy, being an
Mhm.
individual, the one to the number one energy in the challenge in an in an Aries mode is like, you know what? We just going through it. I'm here. See me, I'm here. What else
Right.
you got? And then he's got that number nine energy compounded with him, the four energy being misunderstood with a number eight. Well, you know, I'm Emperor Jones. We're gonna run it. It's making money. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yep. Yeah.
So
And speaking of that number four again, his third and fourth challenges for those third and fourth pinnacles were both number four challenges. And
exactly.
yep, so that reemphasizes, what we mentioned about the number four. But we also forgot to mention is that he probably has some secret enemies too, because that comes with that number four.
Definitely. Yeah,
Yep.
being misunderstood and secret enemies. And I can see it as we look at the chart. I see it, especially with that number one energy, because one is a number that emphasizes individuality, but it also
Hmm.
individuality and leadership on the positive side, but
Hmm.
loneliness on the
Right.
negative side.
Right. Yeah.
So the press was just eating him up. And he was like, well, you know, it is what it is. This is what I do. This is the type of art that I'm bringing out because it did happen. But that's not what we're trying to project, sir. We're trying to leave all that stuff behind. Okay, what you're talking about that happened after the Civil War, after Reconstruction. We're trying to better ourselves. So we want to see ourselves in a better light. And
Hmm.
you running around here talking about I is chilling here. I'm, no, we don't want to do that. So secret enemies, definitely. And with that number five too now, because maybe one of them old flings and whatnot. I'm gonna let your wife know what's going on.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that
And then
number three, did we talk about the number three?
we didn't, but this is a perfect time to do it because those third and fourth pinnacle lessons were both number three lessons.
Right.
And we kind of alluded to the number three, uh, because the number three shows up in his what did we say? We said his light path number that we said was a three. Yeah, the light path number was a three.
Yeah.
Those two pinnacle, third and fourth pinnacle lessons were number three. His
Mm-hmm.
motivation number or soul urge number in the Pythagorean system is a number
The
three. His
soul urge
personality
and
number is a
his
number three.
personality. Yeah.
Yeah, his key number. One of his key numbers is a number three. So lots of number three energy. That's another number that followed him a lot. So we have
Right.
so to run it back, we have the number nine that follows him, the number four that follows him, that number three that follows him, and also going back to the number four. Number four is paired with the number one also. So you have that in there as well. But yeah, that number three is another number that shows up a lot in Mr. Paul's name and birthday.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And number three is the creative optimist energy.
Hmm.
Okay. So, first and foremost, they're coming, the actor, he was a phenomenal actor. First and foremost, his voice. He has that distinctive voice. I had an opportunity to watch Emperor Jones on Tubi, no plug, but Tubi.
Yeah.
And it was made during that time. The protagonist in the film, which is him, he runs into, it was kind of weird. You just have to go see it. But
Okay.
the main point of it is the protagonist kind of loses his mind in the process, and he goes through these whole different kind of scenarios and everything while he's under this hallucinant state, mind state.
Okay.
So Emperor Jones is something else. And I can see where people could misunderstand his craft because it's like, okay, well, everybody's not like that. Just like now, we have rappers, you have every type of genre of rap, but you
Right.
rock with what appeals to you, right? But
Right.
at that
Right.
time, you got to, like I said again, you have to think of the time frame. This is not too far from after the Civil War and Reconstruction. And you're in the 1900s. You got Jim Crow going on. They're literally hanging people in trees for no reasons. So you're gonna put this image out that we I is and doing all this other stuff, how we speak, and we're trying to get away from that. That's not what we're trying to do, if that makes sense. So, but I get where he was coming from because he was like, well, it needs to be put out there because there are people that are like that. You can't forget.
Hmm. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. So we have the create we have the creative optimist, and obviously we went through all the examples of the creativity, the ways in which Mr. Paul expressed himself creatively, particularly with his voice, because number three is connected to the voice, singing voice, speaking voice. Uh, the number three is also so this is what he's learned. So he's learning these lessons over the course of his entire life, and also the course of these mini cycles within uh, his entire life. That's what the life path number and the pinnacle cycles represent. The pinnacle cycles are these cycles within the life path, since the life path covers the entire range of one's life from birth until they transition. So he's learning to be optimistic. He's learning to express himself creatively using his voice. He's learning to not allow people to get on his nerves. He's he's learning to find balance and not overdo things and overwork himself. He's learning
right,
not to get involved in gossip and scandals on the negative side of that number three. No, he's learning to be ambitious, as we can see reflected in his life, his educational life, his entertainment life, his activist life. He was a very ambitious man, so he very much so lived up to that number three within his pinnacles and his life path number.
right. And to add to that, um, three also is a social number, social
Yes, it is.
media. Now,
Mm-hmm.
granted, at that time they didn't have social media, but they did have news media.
Yes, they
And
did.
by him being so social, did you know that he was friends with Albert Einstein? Little
No,
fun
I did
fact.
not. Yeah, that one I didn't know.
But if you think about it, it makes sense because Albert
Mhm.
Einstein is supposed to be one of the greatest minds of, in education. And Paul Robeson, he wasn't, a soup sandwich, as they say. So it
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Robeson was very outspoken. 1937, 1939, there was a Spanish Civil War. He did a lot of activism then. Now, and he permanently modified his renditions of Old Man River. You was talking about the writing, and I think this coincides with it as well. So he modified the song Old Man River by singing the word darkies instead of the N word,
Mm.
and later by changing some of the stereotypical dialect in the lyrics to standard English and replacing the fatalistic last verse of I get weary and sick of trying and tired of living and scared of dying. So he changed it up to something else too. But I keep laughing. Instead of crying, I must keep fighting until I'm dying. Transforming it from a tragic song of resignation with a hint of protest implied into a battle hymn of unwavering defiance. His business agent expressed concern about his political involvement, but Robeson overruled him and decided that contemporary events trumped commercialism as deep.
Mm. That is.
In Wales, he commemorated the Welsh people killed while fighting for the Republicans, where he recorded a message that became his epithet, and it's quoted: "The artist must take sides. He must elect to fight for freedom or slavery. I have made my choice. I had no alternative." Now, I thought that was very deep. You said something about him writing um, in correlation to the number three, and for
Yeah,
him to
number
just,
five.
I'm sorry, number five, and for him to just flip that and change it, so he must have heard from the Amsterdam newspaper when they was like, "Hey, dude, we don't want to be projected like that anymore. We want to be up and looked at as human beings." So he changed it, you know. But he also swung in those social circles with intelligent
Mm-hmm.
scholars. He himself was a scholar. So, but he was a change maker as well, too. A change maker. So, and then you said, well, we both said in the chart, in his Pentacles and Challenge chart, the threes and fours in the last two groups, this is what this is expressing. Um, his three are his Pentacles. So he got the acclaim
Mm-hmm.
through acting. So he was used as a conduit to get that message out. Okay. He he was an activist for the Welsh people who are Republicans. Hey, win some, lose some, right? So, and this is a Spanish, but he's not even speaking. He's not being an activist for African Americans. This is during the Spanish Civil War. But by the time World War II come around, that's when things change. His political activism turns up, and there's a little situation with him called McCarthyism. Do you know anything about McCarthyism?
Yeah, I know Joseph McCarthy. I'm trying to remember his position. I believe he was a senator, if I remember correctly.
He
But
was.
he was a senator, a U.S. senator that was on a hunt for communists
Hmm.
in America.
Now, when you think of the word communist, what do you think for the definition of the word of a communist? Because at
Uh,
that time they threw it out as an to me as an epithet, or you're a communist.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It definitely was. Yeah, it definitely was a epithet, or maybe even a derogatory term or slur. I mean, it's a political term, and I think of it in a socioeconomic perspective as communism being in opposition to capitalism that's practiced in America and other nations. So that's what I think of. I think of someone who rebels against capitalism or the status quo, of these Western nations. I'm not that deep into the economics and the politics, but with my limited understanding of it, that's what I think of.
Okay, and it's no problems with that. No problems with that at all. So I'm just gonna read a little bit. So 1939, that's when World War II pretty much started. And it ended in 1945. So he's doing Othello. Okay. So Robinson's last British film, The Proud Valley, 1940, set in Welsh coal mining town. The film was still being shot when Hitler's invasion of Poland led to England's declaration of war at the beginning of September 1939. Several weeks later, just after the completion of filming, Roberson and his family returned to the United States, arriving in New York in October of 1939. They lived at the Sugar Hill neighborhood of Harlem. You remember that movie, Sugar Hill?
I do.
And they settled in Edenfield, Connecticut. After his well received performance of Ballad of for Americans on CBS live radio broadcast in November 5th, with a repeat performance on New Year's Day in 1940, the song became a popular seller. So that's at three, right? In 1940, the magazine Collier's named Robeson America's number one entertainer. Okay, so that's one of the highs. His getting that, receiving that accolation. Nevertheless, during a tour in 1940, here's a challenge. The Beverly Wilshire Hotel was the only major Los Angeles hotel willing to accommodate him due to his race at an exorbitant rate and registered under an assumed name. Check that out. And he therefore dedicated 2 hours every afternoon to sitting in the lobby, where he was widely recognized to ensure that the next time blacks come through, they'll have a place to stay. Now let's analyze that a little bit. So it's California, right? It's Los Angeles. They don't normally let blacks in this hotel, but it's Paul Robeson, right?
Hmm.
So how can we get more black people to come to our hotel?
I'll get a
Well, we'll let
celebrity.
you in, okay? But your race,
Hmm.
okay? We'll let you in because of your race, okay? But we need you to do a couple of things for us. Feel comfortable in doing that?
Depends on what things you want me to do.
Oh, just sit out in the lobby and talk to the people, and when you go out for your shows you might want to mention where you stay. Just publicity.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he was
Yeah.
definitely used. um so to get to the McCarthyism, he was going hard in activism for Russia with the Welsh and all that kind of carrying on. And he was doing it a lot. So he was number one on the list to say, you know what, this cat and this dude, and by him being a number one in challenge, he was like, I'm for it. I'm ready for it. Come on with it. Yeah, I support them. Come on. I'm about that life. So McCarthyism put him on through the trials and everything. And you got to remember at that time, a lot of producers, actors, actresses, people that, worked in the industry, a lot of people went through that stuff and they weren't able to work. If you were just in a movie a year ago and then you get pulled on the table and say, we believe you're a communist, where are you going to work? There's nowhere that you can work.
Mm-hmm. Right. Hmm.
So, you know, they hit him up and it was bad. It was really bad. So, let's see. I'm trying to get to see. Um, they took his passport.
Mm.
Okay. This man was making like close to 100 grand. That money value today is like $1.3 million.
Woo.
So he was making big bank. Okay. But that fire, that number nine is like, I see it because number nine is also humanitarian. So what's
Right.
going on in Russia is the same thing that's going on in the United States. So we need to cut this out. This
Mm-hmm.
classism, this racism, this socialism. We need to cut it out. Okay. Because we have to think about, we all have to deal with one another. We're all on this planet together. We have to deal with one another. So we need to cut it out. But at that time, a lot of backward thinking and old fashioned beliefs were in play. So he had, are you familiar with the Moore Ford lynchings here in Georgia?
Well, no, 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 not that particular one. No.
Okay, this happened in 1946, 49 time frame.
Okay.
That happened in White County here in Georgia. It was two
Okay.
couples and one of the females was pregnant at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They were lynched, okay?
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, they do a reenactment of that whole situation here in
Wow.
Georgia in White County. Yeah. It's pretty deep. So they had the lynching, four African Americans in Georgia, July 25th, 1946. Robeson met with President Truman and admonished him, okay, by stating that if he did not enact legislation to end lynching, mm, the Negroes will defend themselves. That sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, Truman immediately terminated the meeting and declared that the time was not right to propose anti lynching legislation. Now, let's bring that to the present time.
Mm-hmm.
There is no anti lynching bill on the books.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There, they've been trying to get it on the books when Joe Biden was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Can I say that? I've already said it. It's too late. But they've been trying to get it and it was unsuccessful. But
Mm-hmm.
so that lets you know how long this fight has been going on with lynching. It's still on the books. So it's still legal to lynch in these United States.
Yeah, it
It's still
is.
legal.
In
Still legal.
2025.
Right. Nothing has changed. So Truman got on up out of there because Brother Robeson was in his face like, what you gonna do? And subsequently, Robeson publicly called upon all Americans to demand that Congress pass a civil rights legislation. Robeson founded the American Crusade Against Lynching organization. There's their number nine energy again, creating a community organization in 1946. This organization was thought to be a threat to the NAACP. There's a misunderstanding. Anti-violence movement. Robeson received support from W.E.B. Du Bois on this matter and launched the organization on the anniversary of the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, September 23rd. About this time, Robeson's belief that trade unionism was crucial to civil rights became a mainstay of his political beliefs as he became a proponent of the Union Activists and Communist Party USA member Revels Clayton. So just reading that little bit right there, therefore energy comes up again. He was in some stuff and he was putting a lot on his name out there, just a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. So hidden enemies, like you said, with the four and the eight. Because the NAACP was like, well, we got an organization going on right here. What's all this American Crusade Against Lynching organization? What's that about? But he did befriend W.E.B. Du Bois. He had his back, but he did it on the low. You see what I'm saying? So let's see. About this time, Robeson's belief that the trade unionism was crucial to civil rights became a mainstay of his political beliefs as he became a proponent of the Union Activist and Communist Party. Robeson was later called before the Tenney Committee. Do you remember anything about that, the Tenney Committee?
I remember the name, but I don't remember what
Mhm.
it was about and then who was a part of it.
Okay. Well, it was almost like the McCarthy thing, where
Okay.
he responded to questions about his affiliation with the Communist Party USA by testifying that he was not a member of the party. Nevertheless, two organizations with which Robeson was intimately involved, the Civil Rights Congress and the Council on African Affairs, were placed on the Attorney General's list of subversive organizations. Subsequently, he was summoned before the United States Senate Committee on the Judiciary, when questioned about his affiliation with the Communist Party, he refused to answer, stating, "Some of the most brilliant and distinguished Americans are about to go to jail for the failure to answer that question, and I'm going to join them if necessary." So he's kind of bold in what he had to say. That's
Yeah.
that doer in energy, I believe. So, United States, they took his passport and they wrote on a piece of paper, say that you're a communist. And he wouldn't do it. If you
Wow.
say and sign on this piece of paper that you're a communist, you can get your passport back. And he refused.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. And
United States is something else.
yeah, and that reminds me, we were talking about secret enemies. He had numbers of the secret enemies and the open enemies. So clearly, United States was an open enemy with him carrying that number nine also as
Right.
his birth number and his key number. So he had
Right.
open enemies as well as secret enemies.
Right. Sorry about that. They just pulled up.
Oh no, it's all good. I just have one more thing to share because I know we've been going for a while. I want to respect both of our times because it is a school night for both of us.
It is. We
Yeah,
got to get up and go to school.
Right, right, right. But yeah, I just wanted to point out the number six, and how the number six, he has the number six in his name and birthday, and the number six is similar to the number three in some ways, and in the sense, the number three and the number nine, in the sense that the number six is also an artistic number, and the number six is also a sociable, socializing number as well. And where do we see the number six? We see it in his expression number in the Pythagorean system, and it's also one of his key numbers. So so that number
Exactly.
six. So he also exemplified and carried that six energy, and the expression number represents, in the name, it represents what Paul Robeson was here to share with the world, what he was here to teach, his natural talents and traits and abilities. Also, the number six is connected to education. He was a very educated man. So so the number six is connected to education as well. So I just wanted to point that out to kind of tie it all together and really show how he really exemplified that 369 triad there, those artistic numbers.
Exactly. Exactly. And to wrap it up, um sadly he my light went out, but
It's okay. We can hear you. We can still hear you. That's the important thing.
okay. He 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 wasn't able to make the money that he was accustomed to making because the pull of his passport. So him and his family, they kind of relied on the kindness of others. His wife, he had another stint through that five energy and got tied up with the co-star in Othello, the female lead. And the wife said, "Okay, I'm gone, so y'all can have it." So they divorced, but I think she still maintained his businesses and stuff like that because she was very intelligent. So she still had a hand in everything and making sure his stuff was together. Um, those that alphabet gang, s- they interrogated him immensely to the point where he suffered a nervous breakdown.
Mm,
He did a performance over in Russia, and
the
it was
three.
weird. He was weird. What the kids say, he crashed out.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Basically,
Yep.
basically he crashed out. He was just, and that's that four energy too on the bad side. Nervous breakdown, also with number eight as well, nervous breakdown.
Number three.
Mental stress, yeah, three too,
Yep.
mental stress. um he saw people following him. They really
Mm,
harassed that man. People were following him. They monitored his phone.
mm.
The normal tacky stuff, the stuff that they
Right,
was doing to brother Malcolm, they did to
right, right,
him.
indeed.
Put certain people, certain agents, quote unquote, around him to get information about his comings, his goings. Um, it was so bad. He got sick, and somehow he wound up receiving electroshock treatment to calm
Mm.
his nerves.
Hmm.
And of course, they did more juice than they were supposed to in the shock treatment, and it caused other things to flare up with him. But he eventually passed away. Um, he succumbed to a stroke. So, a phenomenal human being. I feel like he was born in the wrong time, but looking at him through the numbers, it is evident that anytime that he was born, because of that fire with the 4, the 3, the 9. He was a phenomenal individual, and he was going to say what needed to be said, and there was no care to how you felt about it, because he wanted to let the world know that he wanted the United States to know that there are atrocities here, and he wanted the whole world to know about the atrocities, and the whole world to know about the atrocities that are done in the United States. So it's unfortunate that the end was so sad for him, and
Yeah.
um and all he was trying to do is that E word, equality. If you're going to be fair all the way around. Just don't be fair for some people or one particular group, and the other people have to suffer. That's not right. So he was a phenomenal individual.
Yes, he
I would
was.
want him on my team. If I had a team, I would want him on my team.
Yeah, yeah, yes, he was. Yes, he was. And just like many of our figures who were unpopular or enemies to, the country or the nation during that time, they become memorialized and they're heroes now. So uh, right, right, yeah, just a few minutes from me, maybe about 20 minutes from where I am, next city over, at the Newark, New Jersey campus of Rutgers University. They have a one of the buildings named after him, and I've attended.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, and I've actually attended a couple of not so ironic, but activist events and conferences there. The Newark riots anniversary
Nice.
convention I attended there. Urban education conferences I've attended at the Paul Robeson Center at Rutgers University, Newark. I visited the African
Okay.
American History Museum in Washington D.C.
Oh
At the
wow.
beginning of this year, and the
Is it
program.
nice?
Oh yeah, it's very beautiful, and the program from his performance in Othello is in there. I have a picture of it in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I should have, if I remember, if I was thinking of it, I would have sent it to my email so I could share it on the screen here. But that's it. That's in the
Okay.
museum as well. I've read
Okay.
some of his quotes and poetry over the years. So yes, he's definitely rested power to the ancestor Paul
Right.
Robeson. We
Definitely.
still
I
feel
say.
his influence and his impact, to this day. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I feel that, we still need that symbol. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we didn't have Paul Robeson, we wouldn't have the civil rights leaders that we had in the 60s. Okay. And one takeaway that I got from that was when Fred Hammond was unalive, the person that was over the alphabet group said, "We don't want another black messiah," quote unquote. And it's like, but y'all not right. There's no equality, there's nothing. And to bring it to 2025, the museum that you just visited, you were fortunate to visit, it's up in the air about what's going to happen with that.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, it
So,
is.
so I hope that we can continue this and to enlighten people and bring some sort of humanness to these great people, because first and foremost, they're phenomenal. The universe has their soul signed this contract. I'm going to take this on and this is what I'm going to do. That's phenomenal. But we also need to realize at the end of the day, they are human beings. They laugh, they cry, they hurt. They do the same thing that any other human being does on this planet. The only thing that makes them outstanding is the reach that they have achieved throughout their lives.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. But yes, this was a beautiful conversation. I'm glad that we did this
I
and
enjoyed it.
we got to talk about the numbers. You definitely
Yes.
you definitely taught me some things that I did not know about Paul Robeson, and you definitely brought out some great insights connecting those facts and those events from his life to the numbers in his name and his birthday. So I had a great time. Thank you for sharing this and bringing this to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I mean,
Of course.
this is this is great. These ancestors, they need to be commemorated and their flowers given
Yes.
to them because at the rate that it's going, we don't know. And if you're not talked about or read about, you're not known about.
That's right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to and if we don't do it, then nobody knows about this person. I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know that much about Paul Robeson unless
Right.
they go to school and they have or they're made to do a paper on it. He's really a fascinating individual when you really peel back the layers and look inside
Hmm.
and see the type of individual. He's fascinating, just like I'm pretty sure all of them are fascinating. It's just
Yes.
not one side to
Right.
a person. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
All the
like I said,
complexity.
yeah, yeah, like I said, Robeson, he's a big dude, but hey, he liked the ladies. He did this. He was a sociable kind of individual. He was out there. But the reason why he was out there, he had to get the message across. You're not going to keep um doing indignities to my people. You
Right.
you just can't do that. And then he changed and said to all the people, because the same stuff that's going on in the United States is going on somewhere else. Is that the butterfly effect?
I think, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you might be right. I'm not sure. I think so, though.
Absolutely. So I've had an awesome time. I'd like to do it again, but we'll see
Yes,
how it
yes,
goes.
yes, yes, yes. See, yes, see. What other names or people show up, and if there's anybody that's out there that's watching that would like to join the conversation or would like to suggest someone to do a astronumerology profile on or case study on, definitely reach out.
Okay.
Reach out to me. I'm open. Listen, listen. What I'm just having fun here. This isn't a super uptight um, production with all the lights and bells and whistles. No, we just get here. We just come
No.
here. We just hang out. We have a good time. We down to earth conversations. People, if you watch Unread Book
Exactly.
Review with Nick and Rue, you see how we get down on there. So we're approachable. We're definitely approachable. So yep, reach
Absolutely.
out if
I
you're
enjoyed
interested.
it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it, sir.
Yes,
And it's
yes,
it's always wonderful to expound on somebody. You learn so much. And that's what
yeah,
we need
yeah.
to
You
do. We
do.
we need to put that information out there so it won't be lost. It's vital. It's very vital.
Yes, yes, it's absolutely. You have to keep these ancestors alive, through our memories, through these conversations, through revisiting
Absolutely.
their work and their art, and
Absolutely.
what they created for humanity, what they left behind for us and humanity. We have to go back and revisit those pieces to keep them alive and keep them alive through their work. So yes, it's
Absolutely.
important.
Yes.
Mhm. Yep, yep.
Yes. It's my favorite my favorite subject in school was history. A little insight.
Mhm. Yep,
And
one of
I
them too.
always wanted to know, you know, okay, they look so scary. You see a picture of them and they have this serious face and they just, and Martin Luther King and he civil rights and this is, led the people, the Moses of, and it's like, wow, okay, but mm, what else is going on behind that? You know what I'm saying? You know, one of his favorite gospel singles was Mahalia Jackson,
Hmm.
right? And she was the one that said, "Tell him about the dream, Martin." And wasn't ready to reveal the dream at the famous "I Have a Dream" speech. But
Yeah.
Auntie Mahalia said, "Tell him about the dream, Martin." He was like, "I have a dream."
Right, right.
You know how your auntie do. She gonna tell him about the folks, baby.
Yep, yep. Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yep, yep.
So, that's my perspective on it. It's just, we know so much about other people in history
Hmm.
to shine light, to make their
Right.
light bright,
Hmm.
but it's like it's so much stuff that's undercover, like what is it, Uncle Nearest, the liquor
Yeah,
place,
yeah,
the
yeah,
bourbon.
yeah, yes,
Is it
yes.
Jack Daniel? Yeah.
Yeah, 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 that's right. Yeah, the sister that's the owner of that branch, she just did the commencement address at, well, what was it? Florida A&M. It was one
Okay.
what she yeah, one of those
Wow.
universities. Yeah, she just did. Yeah, I just saw a clip of her giving a commencement address. But
Okay.
yes, yes, but you're right. Yeah, these are people that we need to learn more about and teach our children about. And it's up to us. We can't depend on the school system or the government to do it for us. We have to take control and take the initiative and do it ourselves, because if we don't do it, no one else is going to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't, who will?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, because no one else has an interest in educating educating us and our people in the way that we need to be educated. So yeah, we got to do it. It's up to us. Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
I always say some people are not interested in telling the truth.
But yeah, exactly. That's it. That's it. That's
Because
it.
the truth, what they say, the truth hurts, but it's the
Hmm.
truth, you know.
Yep.
Like
Yep. That it is.
I used to tell my students, she would be like, "Oh, you know, they're always talking about slavery." I'm like, "Well, slavery did happen. It
Hmm.
happened." You know what I'm saying? And you know, this is the ramifications from it. This is what we're going through. I
Hmm.
had to explain to another student, you know, when they so-called brought the slaves over, they didn't they wasn't on a cruise ship.
Right.
That was a
Right.
cargo ship. Okay.
Yeah.
They were
Hmm.
counted as, with the chickens and the cows and the feed, you know, two men, two women, two children. That's how they were counted. They wasn't, oh, it wasn't a love boat. I don't know if I'm
Right.
dating myself with that statement.
Yeah,
You probably don't know about the love boat.
I get the reference. I know the reference.
Right.
Yeah.
They wasn't
Yeah,
on
I
the
know the
love boat,
reference.
and they try to, romanticize it. And what's romantic about slavery? Nothing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Nothing. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. But that's a whole other conversation right there. So that might have to be a separate show. talking about that because
Okay.
there's a lot to there's a lot to say about that, and that comment from your student, from your students. But yeah, let's go ahead and get up out of here. So again, if anyone wants to bring any historical figures past or present for us to do a numerological breakdown on, feel free to reach out to us. If you would like to, come on video and have a conversation with myself or with a group of us, hey, I'm open to it. But we thank you for watching, especially if you watched this entire video to the end. And yeah, just stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned for the next numerology video or the next episode of Unread Book Review. And take care and continue striving to be the best version of yourself. CC, thank you again. Thank you for your time and hanging out with me and hanging out with the family.
Thank you,
And
sir.
we'll be talking soon and doing something like this again
Absolutely.
sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for welcoming me and being nice to me and straightening me out and getting me together. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it tonight. It's been fun.
Of course. It was my pleasure. But all right, everyone. We'll see you next time on Supreme Numerics, powered by Mr. Westbrook's class. Peace and blessings.